Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Miss Haywood Helps. Today we're going to be talking about multiplying fractions in word problems. So, like always, we're going to go over a standard and our essential question. Remember, we always want to know what we are learning and why we're learning it. So, the standard for today is NF6, and that is solve real-world problems involving multiplication of fractions and mixed numbers by using visual fraction models or equations to represent the problem. Our essential question is, how can decomposing fractions or mixed numbers help us multiply fractions? That's the question we want to be able to answer by the end of this lesson. Okay, so we're going to review multiplying fractions. I want you guys to remember that when we're multiplying fractions, we do not need to find a common denominator like we do when we're adding and subtracting fractions. It's much easier. On our anchor chart, you can see that our step 1 is multiply the numerators. So working with 2/5 times 3/4, 2 times 3, which are our numerators, is 6. Our second step would be multiply the denominators. Our denominators would be 5 and 4, and 5 times 4 equals 20. So our new answer, or our answer, is going to be 6/20. Our last step is simplify. I know a lot of us struggle with simplifying fractions, and so I will do a subsequent video for this. But for now, we just need to know that we want to divide the fractions down until they cannot be simplified or divided any further. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 20 divided by 2 is 10. 3 is a prime number, which means we cannot divide it any further, so we'll leave the fraction the way that it is, 3/10. I have added a YouTube video that will really help with multiplying fractions. I will leave it in the description so that you guys can view it later. So when we're multiplying mixed numbers, we're going to follow the same steps when multiplying fractions. We're just going to add 2 steps, okay? So the first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to convert all of your mixed numbers into improper fractions. If you guys can remember, so if we look at the anchor chart, we have 1 1/2 times 2 1/5. So you convert a mixed number by multiplying the denominator. So I'm going to highlight that. You're going to multiply the denominator by the whole number. So 2 times 1 is 2. Then you are going to add that number 2 to the numerator. So 2 times 1 was 2, plus 1 is 3. So your new fraction here is going to be 3/2. Okay? Then 2 1/5 is, you follow the same steps. 5 times 2 is 10, and then you would do 10 plus 1 would be 11, and your new fraction is going to be 11/5. Okay, so once you convert your mixed numbers to improper fractions, you would then multiply across. 3 times 11 is 33, and 2 times 5 is 10. That's the second step. Once you have 33/10, you realize that your answer is, in fact, an improper fraction. And so you're going to convert that improper fraction into a mixed number by dividing 10, which is the denominator, into the numerator, 33. 10 goes into 33 3 times. So 33 minus 30 is 3. We're left with 3 3/10. Remember, in our last problem, we said 3 cannot be divided anymore, so we're going to leave it as 3 3/10. Okay, so we're going to review with some word problems. This problem says Josh exercises at the gym 3 3/4 hours a week. He spends 2/5 of his time at the gym lifting weights. How many hours a week does Josh spend lifting weights? I first need to figure out what the problem is asking me. And so I see that they want to know how many hours a week does Josh spend lifting weights at the gym. Reading back through the problem, I see that it doesn't say he spends 2/5 hours a week, but he spends 2/5 of the 3 4 hours a week lifting weights. If we're not careful, we could think that they're asking us to add 3 3/4 plus 2/5, but they're not. This word of tells us that they want us to multiply. And so in order to find out what 2/5 of 3 3/4 is, we're going to multiply. So we're going to take our 3 3/4 and we are going to multiply that by 2/5. Remember, because we are not adding or subtracting, we do not have to find a common denominator. We're simply going to multiply across. But before we can do that, we have to change our mixed number into an improper fraction. Remember, to do this, we are going to take our denominator and we are going to multiply that by the whole number. So 4 times 3 equals 12. Once we have that number, we are going to add it to the numerator. 12 plus 3 equals 15. And so we're going to put our 15 over 4. We are then going to now multiply that by the fraction we had earlier, 2/5, to get 30, because 15 times 2 is 30, 30/20. Remember, our last step when multiplying mixed numbers is to convert the improper fraction back into a mixed number. And so we're going to divide the denominator. We're always going to divide the denominator into the numerator. 20 goes into 30 one time, so I'm going to write a 1. And then when I do 30 minus 20, I'm going to have 10 left over. So the number that is remaining is going to be my numerator, and I'm going to keep the same denominator. So my answer is 1 10/20. But I see that both of my numbers can be divided by 10. And that's going to help me to simplify. So my new answer is going to be 1 and 10 divided by 10 is 1. And 20 divided by 10 is 2. So my answer is 1 1/2. He spends 1 1/2 hours at the gym lifting weights. Okay, the next problem says a field is in the shape of a rectangle 5-6 miles long, so that's here, 5-6 miles long, and 3/4 mile wide. Here's the 3/4 mile wide. What is the area of this field? So as you can see, right here I inserted a model. If we show 5-6, that's 5 out of the 6, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We shaded in 5 of them, right? And then there's 3/4, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4. We shaded in 3 of them. We want to find out how many is in this space where we overlapped, okay? So we do 5, 6 times 3/4. Remember, like I said, we don't have to find a common denominator. We are just going to multiply across. That gives us 5 times 3, which is 15, and 6 times 4, which is 24. So now we're going to see, well, what number goes into 15 and 24? I'm going to use the number 3. 3 is the first number that comes to mind. So we're going to divide. 15 divided by 3 is, because we're simplifying, so 15 divided by 3 is 5, and 24 divided by 3 is 8. When I look at my new fraction, I realize that 5 can no longer be divided, and so this is my answer in simplest form. 5/8 is the area of the field. Okay, so this last problem is going to take a little bit of work. As you can see, we're going to be working with 6 numbers. Lily designed the letters of her name on the computer and printed them on paper. The table below shows the width and the height of the printed letters. She used a copier to change the size of the letters to 3/4 the original size. Make a table to show the new dimensions of each letter. So when I want to multiply a whole number times a fraction, I'm simply going to go ahead and put the whole number over 1 and multiply it by the fraction, 3/4. And that's going to give us 12/4. And when we simplify, we see that 4 can go into 12. So 4 goes into 12 3 times. So our numbers here are now going to be 3. We also could have looked at the fraction tiles and saw that when we have 4 fraction tiles and 3/4 of them, or 3 are shaded in, we have the number 3. So now let's look at our mixed numbers. That's going to be the trickier number. So first we have 2 and 1/2, and we're just going to multiply that by 3/4. Okay, so we're going to convert our mixed number. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So we're going to have 5 over 2 times 3 over 4, and that is going to give us 15/8. We want to convert this improper fraction into a mixed number, and so 8 goes into 15. 15 is divided by 8 one time, and then 15 minus 8, so we're going to put our denominator here. 15 minus 8 is 7. So our new fraction here is 1 7/8. We're going to do the same thing for the next problem. We have 1 3/4 times 3/4. We're going to convert our mixed number into an improper fraction. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7. So we have 7/4 times 3/4, which gives us 21/16. Once again, we're going to convert our improper fraction into a mixed number. 16 goes into 21 one time. And then when we subtract, we have 21 minus 16 is 5 over 16. We cannot divide 5 any further, so this is our answer in simplest form. So we're going to put 1 5/16 here. Finally, we have 1 2/3, and we're going to multiply that again by 3/4 because that's the size that she changed it to on the copier. So we're going to convert. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5/3. Multiply that by 3/4, and that is going to give us 15/12. Once again, we need to change this improper fraction into a mixed number. 12 goes into 15. 15 can be divided by 12 one time. And then 15 minus 12 is 3 over 12. I see that both 3 and 12 can be divided by 3, so I'm going to divide by 3 over 3, which is going to give me 1 1/4. So I'm going to put my answer here, 1 1/4. Okay guys, well that's the end of multiplying fractions in word problems. 2 things I want you to remember. So first you're going to multiply, and then simplify. Multiply the numerators together, multiply the denominators together, and then simplify the answer if needed. With mixed numbers, you're going to convert the mixed number to an improper fraction, and then you're going to multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators, and when you get your answer, convert back into a mixed number. To help with simplifying or reducing fractions, I will attach some videos in the description. However, I do want you to take a look at this anchor chart. Remember this, when you're wanting to reduce a fraction or simplify, you need to find the greatest common factor. Finding the greatest common factor just means looking at all of the factors that go into both of the numbers and finding which is the greatest of them. So when we're looking at 26 and 24 and 36, the greatest common factor, or the biggest number that goes into both of them, is 12. 24 divided by 12 is 2, and 36 divided by 12 is 3. So we can reduce 24/36 all the way down to 2/3. I hope this helps. Have a great day, guys.